Welcome to Measurements. So when you come into the lab, every lab you'll get a little Tupperware bin that has all the equipment you need for each lab. So this first lab that we're doing is called Statistics Lab. And what you need for the Statistics Lab is in the Lab 1 bin. You get a pack of resistors, a multimeter, stopwatch, caliper, and a bolt. So first I'll go through how to use a caliper, then I'll go through how to use a digital multimeter, and then most of you probably know how to use a timer or a stopwatch, but I'll go through that as well pretty quickly. Okay, for the caliper, it's pretty easy to use. You can pull it apart, as you can see here, and you push it together. You turn it on by hitting the on-off button here, and as you can see zeros. Up here is what you use to switch from inches to millimeters. So you hit this and it turns to inches. You hit it again and it turns back to millimeters. And then every time you use it, you got to make sure you push it to the left here so it's touching this, and you hit 0. So it starts at 0. And then you measure from this tip down here or this tip up here, and you pull it apart, and you notice the number goes up. And then you can push it back together and it should go back to 0. And then when you're done with the caliper, you push it back together and turn it off, and that is how you use a digital caliper. To use a digital multimeter, you connect the leads that we have, these alligator clips, shown here, to banana plugs. You connect the red to this middle port here, and the black to COM. So black is COM, red is the middle one. And then to measure resistance, you just clip the two leads of the alligator clips to the resistor itself. To use them, there's an on-off switch. You flip it to on, and you see power. Now, you can see around the dial here, there's many different settings. Here you got DC voltage. In this green region here, you got resistance in ohms. Here you have a diode reader. And then I believe this is for the transistor, which you put in here. Then you have DC current. Then you have AC voltage. And then up here is for capacitance. And right here, when you put this red pin here, that's for measuring amperage up to 10 amps. Now for this lab, you're going to be measuring resistors. So you will be turning your dial to the very bottom here where it says 200 in the ohm section. Now it's reading 1. What the 1 means is that the resistance is infinity or too high for this. So for example, if I was touching these leads to resistor and it read 1 at the 200 ohm setting, it means that the resistance is either infinity or that the resistance is higher than 200. So what you do to determine what it is turn the knob to, say, from 200 to 2000. If it still shows a 1, that means the resistance is still too high, or higher than this division. You turn it up one more to 20,000. If it's still too high, you keep going all the way to 200,000 or 2 million ohms. And if it still shows a 1, then that means the resistance is infinity or it can't be read by this multimeter. Now, if you turn on the multimeter and you see in the bottom left corner here that little battery symbol, that means the battery is low. Contact your TA to have your battery changed. When you're done with your multimeter, switch the switch to off and put it back in your bin. So the last piece of equipment you'll need, is that in a good spot? Yeah. The last piece of equipment you'll need is a stopwatch. Stopwatches are simple and easy to use. You got a start-stop button on the top right here. On the top left here you have a reset button, and down here you have a mode button. So the start-stop button does what it says it does. When you hit it, it'll start counting. When you press it again, it will stop counting, and it will display the time that has elapsed. To reset that time back to 0 again, you hit the reset button. Now, the mode button does things such as set an alarm for it, because most of these have clocks and stuff, but you don't need to touch that as long as it's showing all of this. If you do, then you just cycle through until you get back to the 000 and just hit start when you want to and stop when you don't want to. And that's pretty much it for the lab. Okay, so that's the last bit of equipment that you needed to know. You have your stopwatch, your multimeter, and your caliper. Make sure that when you're done with the lab, you put everything back into that bin and have your TA come check it so that you don't lose any points for missing equipment. Now you do this for every lab. You'll get a bin, you have the equipment that you need in the bin. If anything's wrong with that equipment, you talk to your TA. The TA will be able to replace the equipment if necessary, adjust if you're missing something, but that most likely won't be the case. But if you ever have any problems with anything, you always talk to your TA first before doing anything else. Now, one last thing is that, like I said, there's a few troubleshooting issues that most students incur. The main one is the one with the multimeter for the resistance measurement. And the other one is when you're doing the stopwatch and the full water faucet flow. Make sure that if you and another group are running the experiment at the same time, that you both turn on the water faucets and let them run for a while, and then don't touch the settings. Because they all come from the same water source, so if you have your faucet on and another group comes up and turns their faucet on, your flow rate's going to change because it's all coming from the same water supply and your data will be messed up. So make sure to coordinate with the other groups who's going to use the faucets and go from there. But that is it, and this is how you do what you need to know for Lab 1.